Greetings adventurers, this will be my attempt to make a build guide for the Titan Bonemelter. I say attempt because I hope I will provide enough information for you to recreate this build and have as much fun on it as I did. So I played this build in the previous league, I tested it in the dawn of the hunt and it's still very strong. So I thought I made this build guide. Now, premise of the build is Bone Shatter, Ignite. Bone Shatter revolves around a heavy stun mechanic. Everyone who tried to level a warrior had a brief introduction to it. At Act 1 I think it is, you get Bone Shatter and you probably rolling slam them to pack, heavy stun them, prime them for stun and then blow them up with Bone Shatter. It's a bit surprising to me that the build got not much attention and everyone gravitated to, what was it, Stampede with Herald of Ice and the unique ring, or what was the other meta build for warrior, the shield one with Magma Barrier blowing things up. Both very nice and good builds, but I did not like the shields setup, it felt a bit slow to me. And Stampede was, I didn't like getting stuck on a pebble or having to stampede for one last remaining mob. I just didn't like the playstyle, so I just stuck with the Bone Shatter heavy stun. So let's start with explaining the heavy stun. All damage you do to a target contributes to stun buildup. Since the patch notes in Dawn of the Hunt, because it's dropped 10%, normal mobs get Prime for Stun at 50%, Magic at 60, and then the others at 70%. So if you build up the stun meter to there, they get a nice little glowing bubble above their head. You can Bone Shatter them, that will heavy stun them. So what's the difference between a heavy stun and a normal stun, you might ask? Well, a heavy stun lasts longer and it also procs a whole lot of things on the passive tree, like 20% more damage against heavy stunned enemies with maces, and this is more, so it's multiplicative instead of additive. It's one of the only once, I think, on the whole passive tree that's not an ascendancy node. Things like more area of effect if you stun an enemy decently. So all these things go off and you get a nice chain explosion. And the chain explosion comes not from Bone Shatter, but from the support Impact Shockwave. Because Bone Shatter says it cannot cause stun buildup. But if you use Bone Shatter with the Impact Shockwave, the Shockwave is the same damage as the Bone Shatter, so it's quite a lot of damage. And the Shockwave can't stun. So if you kill an enemy, of course you did enough damage to pass the heavy stun meter, so it creates another shockwave that will kill the next enemy, and so on and so on and so on. That's why we invest in area of effect here, and area of effect here, and here, to get more coverage. We also run the Herald of Ash, so we get some ignite damage to help. And that's our clear. Now for bosses, we use a Hammer of the Gods with a big ignite. So our mapping gameplay is running around the shield charge, we jump into attack, Leap Slam, we prime them for heavy stun, we Bone Shatter, the whole screen explodes in flames. And if it's a boss, we just Mace Strike or Perfect Strike, So they're heavy, primed for stun. We heavy stun them with Bone Shatter. We cast a shout, and then we drop our hammer. The changes to Hammer of the Gods now requiring, what's the name, Glory, doesn't change really much because we heavy stun the boss anyway. Now let's take a look at the passive tree first, and I'll give some tips and tricks for leveling. So we take the increased melee damage, we come through here, more melee damage, more melee damage, more melee damage, more melee damage against heavy stun enemies, go through here. Now when we're here, it depends on your gear. If you have enough accuracy to have a decent hit chance, you can go to the Burning Strikes nodes. Gain 12% physical damage as extra fire damage. That's a whole lot of extra fire damage. You really notice it when leveling in the beginning of the game. It really amps up your damage. But of course, if you can't hit the enemy, all the damage in the world won't help you. So if you don't have the accuracy, you come through here and you rush for Resolute Technique. Depending on your gear, you just get Resolute Technique first or Burning Strikes first. Then after that you just come down here and you take the Skull Crusher because it's a whole lot of damage. And then after that you can pick up Avatar of Fire, but I would suggest waiting a little bit longer. Soon as you get your weapon set points, I didn't mention this, but this build is essentially a 2-in-1 build. Our first weapon set is our mapping build, and our second weapon set is our boss build. So for our first weapon set, we play mace and shield. Shield to have some survivability, to not get swarmed. So we pick up the block nodes over here. Over here we get some life, we get some less slows on us, which is good because we're melee. We take this blocking nodes, and this one is very important. 80% less knockback distance for block hits. If you tried block before, you may have noticed that you get knocked back if you block and you can't really hold your position anymore. This node will make this a lot better. And on top of that, we recover 20 life, and we gain 6 life here on block, so it helps with our sustain. The further sustain comes from May to Last, a bit of a weird untiring node from PoE1, but it really helps because we're using blood magic, so all our mana costs are converted to life costs. The mana costs in the first iteration of the game were just too high, and it required too much investment in mana leech, mana recovery, and we lost just too much passive points. So I went for blood magic. Now in Down of the Hunt, the magic costs, the mana costs I should say, of the skills got adjusted. Especially at higher levels, they should be cheaper to cost. So that means we lose less health through blood magic. That's really good for our sustain. And we recover the health with Made to Last, with our supports like herbalism, vitality, and cannibalism. So we got our mana problem fixed, we got our sustain fixed, we got block while mapping, we got a decent chunk of armor and life, so that's good. We pick up the life node here 3% increased, and we have 15% more from our ascendancy. We pick up the strength node here because it's percentage based, and the ascendancy nodes are also in percentage based, and we pick up the flat strength nodes here and the strength nodes here. The reduce of mana doesn't really matter because we're running blood magic. We also get some nice little damage increase from the strength, and we stack all that strength so we can run Giant's Blood. So we can wield a two-handed mace, and a shield in our mapping setup. And if I bossing, I just switch. I put that mace there, and I'm dual wielding maces for bosses. What else? For the rest, we just pick up some more fire damage here. We pick up the rage node. That also gives us increased armor. We get increased armor here if we hit an enemy recently. So that should be up all the time, and combined with scavenged plating over here, that gives us the physical reduction we need. Well, armor still isn't the best, but I think it's a bit better now because bosses can no longer penetrate armor, and there was another change, but I can't remember. So that's the white is our core tree. We got the block for mapping, and then we go for increased area of effect here for the aftershock. The aftershock applies to shockwave. Bone Shadow shockwave is, as you can see, an aftershock. You take the area of effect nodes here and here to make it bigger. Then for our other weapon set, if I switch, you see the red ones light up. The red ones are increased magnitude of ailments and increased magnitude of ignite, because that will be our bossing setup, and the most important thing is the ignite damage on Hammer of the Gods, which is 16.5k for me at the low end. And we have Fist of War, of course, to boost our Hammer of the Gods. Then we have Eternal Flame to have more ignite duration, Searing Flame for more ignite magnitude, Heft for more damage, and Concentrated Effect for even more damage. On our Bone Shatter we run Impact Shockwave, of course. We run Devastate, so we fully break armor when heavy stunning an enemy, and that's important to have fragments for our scavenged plating. Then we have Magnified Effect for more AoE, Fire Infusion for more damage, and maybe a bit of a weird one, but I played Longshot here, because the further you away the explosions go, usually the less dense the mobs are getting. So close to you we have a lot of overlap of shockwaves that kills everything, but if there's only one mob left in the back, we don't get an overlap, so I went for extra damage there. But with Dawn of the Hunt we got a whole new set of support champs, so there might be something better now, but this is still the old setup. To engage we use Leap Slam with blind, of course. Enemies are blinded, so that's good for our survivability. They also have less evasion, if I'm not mistaken. so it's good for our hit rate, not that it matters with precise technique. We have Holy Descent that creates consecrated ground beneath us. So if I go to my character sheet, total life recovery per second is 56.6. Now if I'm standing in my consecrated ground is 245. So that's another bit of sustain there. We take the spoiler to make the consecrated grounds last longer, and martial tempo for the attack speed. The attack speed is more for the initial wind up than the jump. So you see it's quite fast. If I remove the gem, it takes a little bit longer for the character to jump up over there. Then we have the Infernal Cry, added fire damage with predetermination and powered skills do more damage. And I'm not sure if this works properly, but there is a support that makes you gain rage when you Warcry, and then we have a Rage Warcry that makes you consume. I tried it, but I think I didn't work, so I dropped the other one. We get rage from our passive tree anyway, and from our jewels. Where is my jewel? Here. Gain 1 rage on hit and 1 rage when we get hit. So we always have rage. So the Warcry always does even more damage. We use Seal Charge for our mobility. We use Ingenuity to reduce the cooldown, and I put Stomping Ground there. It's not really necessary, but in places where you have a lot of those small mobs, like those little roaches or stuff like that, you can't really prime for stun them, because you do so much damage to them that you probably will light stun them, and then you can bone shatter, so it's a bit of an annoyance. So what I usually do there is just pop my shout and leaf slam in them, then the damage from our herald will usually clear them out, and if you can't be bothered to really wait for them, you just can shield charge through them, and the shockwave will take care of them. Now, for a little bit more single target, we have Perfect Strike. It no longer has a 100% ignite chance, but that doesn't really matter with the amount of fire damage we do and the amount of ignite chance we already have. It's just pretty much guaranteed anyway. So we use Window of Opportunity. It got a little nerf, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, it just... Ooh, numerical values, USA 35. I thought that the patch notes said it dropped to 25, but whatever. Primal Armored for more weapon, elemental damage, fire penetration, and important here is Unbreakable. I see a lot of people complaining about Perfect Strike, especially when they're trying to use it on a rare and a map scenario, and the little mobs are hitting them, that the stuns or the knockbacks or whatever it is from the little mobs prevent them to get the Perfect Strike off. This will prevent that. If you just slot it breakable, your stun threshold goes up, and you can just Perfect Strike while little mobs are hitting you, no problem. We have Herald of Ash, like I said, with Herbalism to increase our life flask, with Vitality to have a little bit regen. We have Time of Need for more regen, remove curse and elemental ailments. We use fast forwards, so the time interval between the heals is shorter, and we have cannibalism, so we recover some life when we kill stuff. We have scavenge plating for more armor, and we use persistence to make it last longer, so we can maintain the 10 max stacks. I believe it's 10. Unique and e-grind 10 stacks. Yeah, 10 is the max. So we can maintain this a lot longer. So I went over all the skills. No, I didn't. I missed Mace Strike. Mace Strike is usually we only use Mace Strike if there's a strangler in the map, or to stun fast moving bosses where we can't use our Perfect Strike because they move too much. We use Mace Strike, so we have Overpower and Ruthless to help with stun build up, because we want to stun the boss as fast as possible. We have Rage. I just put it here, no reason actually. It helps with rage gain on bosses, but that's about it. We have Elemental Focus, so it does a little bit more damage, and we have Close Combat, so it does even more damage. More damage equals more stun threshold, more stun build up, so we stun the bosses more easily. Anything else that I missed? I went over the skill tree, I went over the dual weapon setup, I went over the skills, so I think next is the gear. This is the gear I have in life. I will link both the POB and a Maxwell guide in the description of the video, so you can take a look there for what items you should chase for. This is just what I got live in game. So armor, life, strength everywhere. Strength is important for our Giant's Blood, and we use no, I didn't, because I didn't find one, but you should use, and I'm gonna switch over to this one. You should use reduced attribute requirements, so you can use higher level and have more base damage. One other change in Dawn of the Hunt is now we can use 2 life flasks instead of life flask and a mana flask, because we didn't really need the mana flask with the blood magic node. So now we can use 2 life flasks, so that's even better. The rotation is easy, you just leap slam, bone shatter, leap slam, bone shatter. If they're not primed for stuns, with 1 leap slam you can either leap slam again or use a Mace Strike with the extra stuns. That's one thing I didn't mention yet. On bosses, let me just switch to the game again. So let's say I clear the map with the mapping setup, shield, maze. I enter the arena, I press escape, no, I press map, so the game pauses. I can open my skills and my inventory. Then I'll take out scavenge plating, and I'll put in flammability with heightened curse and focused curse. Scavenge plating is not really needed on bosses. We will break their armor when we heavy stun them, but we get 1 or maybe 2 platings, and generally the normal attacks from bosses we can tank anyway, and the heavy attacks you should either block or dodge. So scavenge plating is not needed, so we take flammability, so we can prime for stun the boss, heavy stun the boss with bone shatter, then we curse them with flammability, we use our infernal cry, and then we drop our hammer. The flammability will double dip, because the hit of Hammer of the Gods is flame damage, because we use Avatar of Fire. Because the hit is higher, the burning will be higher, the ignite, sorry, and because they have less fire resistance, it will take more damage. So it's a good multiplier there. So the gear, that's where we're at. So we take strength everywhere for the weapon, fizz and fire, and might be that elemental is better. Let me check our POP. Tampon mall. Yeah. So fizz, elemental, strength, level of melee skills, and reduced attribute requirements, so we can use a higher base. For the shield, we want additional physical damage reduction and block chance, so we can reach our 75 maximum block chance. For the helmet, just life, armor, strength, resistances. Chest piece, same life, armor, strength, resistances. Now for the rings, I went with ruby rings, cause we can use the fire, what's the word, quality, and that will boost the fire damage, the flat fire damage, the percent increased fire damage, and the fire resistance, implicit and the other one will all get boosted. So let's see if I drop this, the fire resistance go down and all the fire damage goes down. So I think this is the best ring for the setup, especially since breach rings got nerfs in Dawn of the Hunt. I don't think it's really beneficial to run breach rings, and it helps to have resistance rings to more easily cap your resistances. Next we have our boots, movement speed, of course, armor, life, strength, resistances. Gloves, armor, fire damage, level of melee skills, strength and resistance. On the amulet we want spirit, because we are running 3 spirit buffs and a couple of supports in there. We need, I think, yeah, just 140 exactly spirit. Also level of melee skills for more damage, again strength and resistances. For the belt I specifically went for utility belt, I think it's called. Yeah, utility belt, because of the implicit 20% of flasks recovered applied instantly. We also run that on our flask itself, so 23 here, 20 there. I think 23 is quite a low roll. Oh no, it's the high roll. So that's 43%. I have 1000 on my life flask, so that's about 430, a bit more, 450 life I get instantly. Charm slots, of course, strength, armor, life, strength, and resistance. For uniques, you can run Soul's Blood, because it gives us enemies in your presence have fire exposure, but you really have to adjust your build a bit. Trample Toes I didn't try, but I don't think it's necessary. Deal 30% of overkill damage to enemies within 2 meters of the enemy killed. We already have plenty of damage. You can see here my Bone Shatter. This is still the old PoB, because PoB didn't get updated yet, but you can see here the old Bone Shatter. I do 160k damage. And if you want a reference point, I have Rex's Ice Strike build here, and Ice Strike does 95. So our build does about 65% more damage, and I think Ice Strike was one of the most played builds. Everyone was happy with that, so if you're happy with that, you're definitely gonna be happy with this. If you want to see the single targets, switch to our dual wield setup, and we have 300 and over 300k ignite on our Hammer of the Gods. So that's combined with all multipliers, flammability and what's not. The boss is actually gonna mount. For flasks, I went over it. You want instant recovery. For charms, I don't want to be shocked, because shocked means I will take more damage. I don't want to be frozen, because that is pretty much a death sentence. We have enough stun thresholds on the tree. I think we get some here, 30% increased stun threshold here. We have 30% increased stun threshold here, and we have quite a decent life pool, and stun is based on the life pool. Frozen is also based on the life pool. I did get frozen sometimes, so I prefer to run the charm. For the rest, you can run whatever you want. If you ever get a belt with more than 2 charm slots, I put in 3 here. You can put in a gold charm if you want more drops, because it's the build is a bit tight on resources, so it's really hard to get rarity in the build. So I ended up sometimes running 1 or 2 gold charms. One other change since Dawn of the Hunt is, I believe we lost 1 jewel socket. They said they removed some of the jewel sockets on the tree, if I remember correctly. Yeah, we have 1 here, 2, 3, and life now we have 1, 2. We lost this one here. So we lost 1 jewel socket, but jewels are more fire damage, more chance to ignite, rage on hit, and magnitude of ignite. So even if we take 1 away, you see our damage is still pretty much up there. We went from 160k to 155, so that's still plenty. So that covered the passive tree, the gear, the skills, the supports. Last thing I wanted to go over was how to pilot the build. Some neat tricks I discovered in all the hours of playing in the first week. So
I can't yet.
Shield charge. We have a bit of a delay at the end of shield charge. As you can see, the character stops for a brief second. If you dodge roll, you cancel that. Same with leap slam. If you just leap slam and then try to move, the character stays in place a little. If you leap slam and cancel, you just can move. One thing I like to do a lot is if you dodge roll in the direction of your cursor, but if you rotate your cursor, you will actually dodge roll in a tight little circle. So I will leap slam, then dodge roll. As you can see, I dodge rolled in the circle, and I'm still standing in the consecrated ground. So in a mapping scenario, this is really good, because we cancel the animation from leap slam. We avoid some damage with the dodge roll, but we're still standing in our consecrated ground, so we still get the life recovery. and we can follow up with our Bone Shatter in a relatively safe way. Something else. The life is really noticeable, so the mana costs really make a difference. That on top of the fact we cannot run 2 life flasks now is... I think it's safe to say the build got buffed more than it got nerfed. So seeing as all other builds got nerfed and we got buffed and it was already strong first league, that's why I wanted to make this video for people looking for a strong build. Nice clear. You can see the videos of me clearing. I think it's quite up there. Maybe the Stampede build was a little bit faster, but I think we're a little bit tankier. And in comparison to the Shield Magma Barrier build, we're a lot faster in clearing. So is there anything else? No. Just heavy stun is a little bit tricky. Sometimes you do too much damage, so you pass the heavy stun threshold and stun the enemy normally. That's bad because you can't follow up with Bone Shatter. The way to fix this is to do less damage, and that's the reason why I don't have any damage modifiers on my Leap Slam. And if you need to, you can always take your Leap Slam with lower levels. Another thing is energy shields. Mobs with energy shields take less stun build up, so it might be you have to Leap Slam twice or Leap Slam Mace Strike first and then Bone Shatter. You can run maps with increased stun build up as long as it's not too much. You can run maps with increased life on mobs without a problem. You can run increased resistances on mobs. We have plenty of damage. You have no problem killing them. You can run maps with energy shield on mobs, but you have to take into account you probably have to take an extra Leap Slam or a Mace Strike to stun the mobs. Our sustain is pretty diverse, because we have recoup here, we get gained here, we get recover here, and we have regeneration. We have live on kill. So if you have a map with less regen, it doesn't really matter because we have all the other things. If you have a map with less recoup, it doesn't really matter because you have all the other things. Maps you really can't run is Elemental Reflect. Less block chance is painful. Armor break is really painful. And too much resistance shredding is also painful. We're running 78 resistances at the moment. You can, if you get lucky, get max resistances on shields. So I think in my POB we get to 80 max res, yeah. So that's 20 elemental max hits. So you should be fairly tanky against max hits. Our physical max hit is quite low, but we have block, a lot of physical hits are fast small hits, so we can block that one, those ones, and the really big large physical hits are mostly telegraphed, so you can dodge out of the way. So I went over our sustain, I went over the defense, I went over the skill rotation. I think we covered everything. If I forgot anything, if there's anything that's unclear, you have questions about, just leave a question in the comments below. I'll try to answer it as soon as possible. And until then, just keep walking.